2024 was a year of great success for the Sonic franchise. The so-called Year of Shadow brought us Sonic X Shadow Generations and the Sonic Movie 3, both massive hits with the fans and the general audience. But with the turn of the new year, the question is, can Sega continue to push the series forward? What can we expect in 2025 from the Blue Blur? Today, we will take a look into all rumoured Sonic projects for 2025 and beyond to discuss the future of the franchise. With all the remakes that we've gotten in recent years, some people have begun to speculate that another one is coming in 2025. As much as I'd love to see Sonic Unleashed remade personally, most of the rumours right now predict a Sonic Heroes remake, and you know, I'm okay with that. Under a few conditions of course, which we'll discuss more later. But first, where do these rumours even come from? To summarise what GameRant had to say, leaker Ryan from the Bronx has said that a new title is being developed under the codename Guinness. Now, using the trend of beer-related codenames for remakes, we can deduce that this project is a remake. Some have said that Guinness was used here because Heroes actually holds the Guinness World Record for most playable characters, and while a novel theory, I think we're clasping at straws here to be honest. There's no real evidence that this is Heroes, there's no real evidence that there is a project, it's just based on what one leaker had to say, we don't know how reliable they are. However, if we are assuming that yearly Sonic releases are to be continued, there are some clues that lead us to believe it may be Heroes. Considering that this is a game that was well received upon release by the fanbase, and the fact that there are very few ways to even play this game in 2025, it would be logical to assume that a remake is inevitable. But what would I actually want to see in a remake of this game? On the aesthetic side, the game's visuals and graphics need a lot of work to be up to today's standards, unlike games like Sonic Colors and Sonic X Shadow Generations, which already looked pretty good compared to today. Sonic Heroes is quite old, but the game is filled with colour and life and could look stunning with a modern graphics engine and improved animations and character models. Moving swiftly onto gameplay, the controls could use tweaking. Many people found that the physics were too floaty, and mechanics such as rail switching were often unresponsive, which led to annoying and avoidable deaths. In general, I think this game's biggest issue is the controls. It's a far cry from the Adventure series, and yes, Sonic is supposed to be fast, but when his acceleration is so fast that he becomes slippery, that's when it's a problem. You can't platform in narrow spaces, and the other characters such as Tails and Knuckles, they're just too slow. So you have one character that's too fast and the others are too slow, and it really kills the pace. So, please Sonic Team, if you're to only change one thing from the original, please give us more fluid and responsive controls. New team moves, combos, and improvements to the level design would be great, as the gameplay after a while admittedly begins to feel repetitive and formulaic. Having players decide how they want to tackle challenges would allow for great replayability, as opposed to just making it obvious what character to switch to in a certain scenario. And now, let's talk about the campaigns. I'm sure everybody knows what's coming here. Make them optional. We don't want to have to replay the game 4 times over just to see the true ending, especially when the campaigns aren't that distinct. Some of them just feel like an easy mode after already playing the normal mode of the game. It's already repetitive enough gameplay wise, we don't need to replay it 4 times to fight the final boss and get the true ending. If Sonic Team were really ambitious, they could mix up the level design for each campaign and even give us new levels, but with the recent remakes we've gotten and the track record of Sega on remakes, I wouldn't hold my breath for anything too new. Okay, rant over. Let's get back to the video. Some cool extras though could be online co-op, where you control different characters in the team, or even a small Metal Sonic bonus campaign that shows his lore and transformation to Neo Metal Sonic. To summarise my feelings, I think this remake would be a great chance to give many people the opportunity to experience this game for the first time and to relive the adventure era. However, I'm a bit worried that effort won't be made to improve the game and it will end up being a lazy cash grab that takes advantage of nostalgia. So I am cautious, but excited. Moving on from rumours to confirmed news, in 2025 an online party game called Sonic Rumble will be released. This game features mini-games as 32 players traverse courses to collect rings and try and qualify for the next round. It looks Fall Guys inspired, with the same qualification and elimination I spoke of earlier, and an obstacle course style where 32 players all battle it out on the same map. If the final product is well polished, it could be a fun time, but just like Fall Guys, I see it becoming boring after a couple of months. Still, it looks like it could provide the fanbase with a bit of fun. At the end of the day, spin-offs, especially when they're mobile games, aren't meant to be these large replayable adventures that you keep coming back to. They're just meant to be little side projects to keep you entertained and engaged with the main franchise, while the bigger projects are under development. And now, let's get into the big stuff. No more remakes, no more ports, no more spin-offs or party games. Let's talk about the next 3D AAA action-packed Sonic game. But what will this game even be like? Now first, a quick disclaimer to avoid any future confusion. These are leaks, not confirmed news. It's not 100% confirmed. These leaks come from someone alleged to have links to the development team. But that means that we can't know 100% for sure if they're actually true and if this is actually all going to be factual information. And if you're not okay with that, feel free to click off the video. Generally, videos on leaks are more for people who like to spark some early discussion or make some predictions as to where the franchise is going, discuss what they would like to see in the new Sonic game, and just fill the time while we wait for some new content. So if you do choose to continue watching, thank you, I appreciate that. And now, let's get into the leaks. This insider said that the game has the same development team and lead developer from Sonic Frontiers, and that's due to the game's success in Japan. And the team has been expanded substantially, with some developers from previous Boost games even returning. Just like Frontiers, it's going to be open world, but it will have one giant island rather than multiple smaller ones. And unlike the Starfall Islands of Sonic Frontiers, this island is going to have a less realistic art style. It's going to be more focused on creating an environment you'd expect to see in a Sonic game. For example, something like Angel Island. Just like Frontiers, there will be a combat system returning, and the boost will return, but in a different way. It's going to be less integral to speed. I'm speculating that's because the changes to how the island's designed, maybe we could see momentum returning. Unlike Frontiers, where there was a lot of flat terrain and platforming heavily relied on objects that were floating in the sky, maybe we'll actually get to use the terrain of the level of the island to increase our speed, use its momentum, use slopes. That would be very good. And thus boost might be used differently. Apparently it's going to be a new special ability, so we'll see how that pans out. And we're looking at a 2027 release apparently, which isn't too bad. I know we all like frequent Sonic games, we don't want to be waiting so many years, but we have to accept that the most important thing, especially with Sonic Team, is making sure they have the time to create quality games and not rush out poorly designed games that effectively worsen the series' reputation and give them less of a budget to work with in the future. So what are my thoughts on this? I actually quite like it. To be honest, I wasn't really a big fan of the whole open zone thing. That might be controversial. That's because I really felt like a lot of the platforming did rely on just floating objects in the sky, which I wasn't really a fan of. I would have liked to see more natural platforming challenges built into the islands themselves, because running around the terrain, it often felt very empty and like a empty open space, which I really wasn't a fan of personally, but that's my opinion. I do think changing the environments to make them more of a Sonic style environment that we're used to might really help with this issue. So I do think the game definitely has potential, but we don't know a lot about it right now, so it's really hard to speculate. If you have any thoughts in the comment section, let me know. That's going to wrap up the video. If you're still watching at this point, thank you so very much, I appreciate that. I'd love to get some discussion going with you guys in the comment section, so comment below and I'll be responding to all of you. Thank you and have a lovely day.